Hi, everybody. I am super excited to welcome you to our second series of our mental health group videos. Hopefully, we can do like another year of just kind of learning and growing. I'm hoping this information is just kind of new and fresh and helpful. I am one for feedback. So if you have questions about something, it's difficult for you to understand my explanation, like that, me tripping up on my tongue. If you just kind of have any general questions, please reach out and speak to one of the wonderful people at the Lily Pad Sane Center. They can just kind of get you in touch with me. So let's get started. One of the things I wanted to just kind of begin with is just not to detail PTSD, because we all understand post traumatic stress disorder to a certain extent. But if you don't, we're going to do just a little definition here. So, post traumatic stress disorder is a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event. Either experiencing it or witnessing it, symptoms may include flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, as well as uncontrollable thoughts about the event. Most people who go through traumatic events may have temporary difficulty adjusting and coping, but with time and good self care, you can usually get better. And so there is no set time limit. I want to make that clear. There's no set time limit at all. And then I want to just kind of adjust terrifying, because that's a really big word. And sometimes when you're traumatized by something, you don't feel terrified in the moment. You don't feel fearful in the moment. Um, it can just be persistent, just kind of exposed to traumatic events, like children who struggle with neglect. And well, maybe struggle isn't the right word, but children who have been victims of neglect. It's not necessarily terrifying, but it's very distressing, and prolonged exposure to neglect can also cause the same symptoms of PTSD, and it's typically called complex PTSD. So that's my only little thing with the word terrifying. So I just wanted to make sure I had a clarifier there. So one of the big things I wanted to talk to you guys about in regards to PTSD, it's distress tolerance. So distress tolerance is a person's ability to just kind of manage actual or perceived emotional distress. It involves being able to make it through an emotional incident without making it worse. And it's like, okay, if it's already bad, what could make it worse? Well, what can make it worse is cutting. Um, you sometimes, when you're in an emotional state, you don't know how deep you're cutting. You don't know the just kind of psychological impact of cutting. There's certain things that you don't think about. Food. I am a food. I am an Oreo girl when I'm a little sad. So, and the moment while I'm eating my Oreos and feeling really good about them, it's a sleeve later when I realize, oh crap, maybe I should have talked about my emotions. Maybe I should have did some positive self-talk or another coping skill, gone on a walk, played with my dog, something else other than just kind of eating this whole sleeve, because now we have to deal with a whole other issue. The whole guilt shame cycle of like, why'd you do that? But, we don't want to go there. That's a whole different topic. I could talk about it forever. Yeah, me and this love for Oreos, it's just not good. Okay, so people with who have like low distress tolerance tend to become overwhelmed by stressful situations and may sometimes turn in unhealthy or even destructive ways of coping when it's difficult. And so I just explained that previously, but I don't want to just miss out on drugs, alcohol, and other what they call maladaptive, which is a fancy word for bad coping strategies. You want to make sure you implement positive coping strategies. And we'll talk about those in an upcoming video, because I always want to stress how important it is to just kind of take care of yourself and that mind body connection. I've gotten really granola over the course of a year, so we'll just kind of explore that. So everyone just kind of have a wide variety of stressors during life. And I find it very difficult when people compare stressors. Not everybody has the same capacity to just kind of handle situations in the same way. Not everyone has the same amount of resilience or the same type of resilience. So it's just kind of unfair to just compare. So let's not compare. And if the definition of distress tolerance isn't clear from all my many words, it's simply just your capacity to handle distress. Like when you're upset or emotional, it's your capacity to handle it and channel it into something positive. Or not, or if not positive, then neutral, because sometimes you can't go from being just kind of very, very low and emotional to happy, because it might be a little strange and it may come off a little manic. And so it just, kind of depends upon the person. So we'll talk about the types of techniques, the distress tolerance techniques you can use to make yourself feel better. One of the things also is, for this big for me, is not going into that guilt shame cycle. I don't know what's with me in the words. When you're feeling distressed, you want to just kind of give yourself room to feel what it is you need to feel. For some reason, we just kind of have this in American society, this thing where you just kind of have to suck it up, buttercup, and that is just so damaging. Sometimes, let me clarify. You don't want to go to the other end where you're just kind of crying about everything, right? You want to just kind of have some balance. And with me, you'll understand going through these videos and probably the previous videos that balance is my favorite word. And so we just want to make sure we're there. So enough of my babbling. Let's go on to the distraction techniques. So, distraction can be a very effective way of taking actions to increase your distress tolerance. It involves using a variety of methods to take your mind off your feelings of distress. Now, distraction techniques are temporary. For me, because I'm a processing therapy, at some point you therapist, excuse me, at some point you need to go back and you need to actually sit with those feelings so that you can process how you're feeling, because a lot of times when you're distressed or upset and you have PTSD, you can't identify what you're feeling. For a lot of people, especially people of color, um, anxiety and depression and just a lot of mental health conditions look like anger. You're not necessarily anger, you're distressed, you're hurt, you're all these different emotions, but the umbrella or the expression of those things, it looks like anger, right? So, improving the moment. So, this involves just kind of a variety of strategies to help make the stressful situation more tolerable. So, visualizing a relaxing scene, looking for the silver lining, or taking a mental break to do something pleasant. So, for me, the visualizing a relaxing scene, I the only one I feel like I can do effectively is just kind of the red balloon. The other ones, like, because I have obviously a hamster in my brain, like as soon as I think of a relaxing scene, I'm thinking about, hey, there's something else I could be doing. And so that doesn't work for me. And I'm sharing that because I when people tell you to just kind of meditate or relax, if you're one of those people that meditation doesn't work, then I don't want you to give up and say, well, I just can't be helped. Well, you just have to find a thing that does relax you. And so I went through a lot of visualization kind of scenes before I realized the red balloon really helps me. It's probably because I'm super competitive and I want to see that balloon just kind of go into the sky. But again, that's a whole other conversation. um, Looking for the silver lining is my favorite. I'm annoyingly optimistic. I just like happy stuff. So, we just have to make sure, like, when you're thinking about the silver lining, that you're realistic and you're not in a dream state, because fantasy is a good distraction for a little while, but you absolutely want to make sure, again, you're just not in this dream state and these are realistic things. um so yeah, and taking a mental break, like, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm at my emotional capacity, I am so at a 10 right now, I need to go and breathe. I need to go and look at nature. I need to play with my dog. I need to do something to just kind of bring me down, to get me at about a 4 of a 5, if that's my operating state right now. Honestly, if your operating state is at a 6 or a 7, and that's just kind of where you are, because we don't want to forget, with PTSD, sometimes you have hypervigilance. And so that hypervigilance doesn't have to be a 10. It can go down to that just kind of 5 or a 6, so that you can just kind of function until you can get into a space where you feel safe, or talk to someone, or again, continue to do a coping skill to make you feel better. Um, Another thing you can do is just kind of like pros and cons. So, what's the pros and cons of either tolerating the distress or not tolerating it? It could be a good tool for thinking through short term and long term consequences of your actions. Now, old me, so my distress tolerance was not very good, like, at all. And so if I so for me, my anger would come in burst. And so in that burst, I could either fight, I could either break things, I could either kick things, say ugly things. I was never into just kind of self-injurious behavior, but yeah, I was more outwardly destructive. And so now, on the opposite end of that, when I definitely do the pros and cons. And so if I think about the pros of just kind of managing my distress in the positive way, it's when I initially started rethinking my behavior, it was because I didn't want to be punished. Like, punishment was definitely a game changer. But outside of the punishment, now I feel like, do I want to expend all of that energy, getting that angry, and being that destructive for something I'm probably going to feel bad about later, right? And so I don't want to do all of that. And so my choice is, okay, I'm just going to sit here for a minute, think this thing through, and make a better choice for me in the long term. I mean, in the short term, I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I'm not destroying something that I am probably going to want later. I had a whole adult size tantrum about, just kind of putting up a cabinet. This was decades ago, but I had to buy the cabinet again, and so that was a that was a really quick lesson as to how to just kind of control your distress tolerance. I don't know what it is about that word that I can't get out today, but and so there's another thing that's just called radical acceptance. So when I first read this, I was like, okay, that's weird. But I started to just kind of really fall in love with the idea, because it's, rather than focusing on the things that cannot be changed or that are out of your control, radical acceptance involves just accepting things as they are and letting go of feelings of regret, anger, and bitterness. And so, again, it's just, it's it means just kind of accepting things all the way, complete and total. It's accepting it in your mind, your heart, and your body. And it's when you stop fighting reality, stop throwing tantrums because reality is not the way you want it, and you just kind of let go of all the bitterness. So if there is a situation in your life or a person in your life that you feel like you just can't control, things are out of control with them or the situation, and it's just so frustrating because nothing works in the way that you want it to work. Sometimes you just have to accept that this is what it is, right? It's just what it is. This person is who they are. This situation is what it is, and I have to accept it. And the beautiful thing about accepting it is then you get to review your choices, right? I'm the queen of I'm out. So if something, and I don't mean that in the sense that like I'm a runner, like if there's something I need to talk about with you, if there's something I need to adjust, like I do all those things first. Like I will try to communicate with you, I'll try to compromise, I'll try to adjust. But if you're just kind of demeaning, gaslighting me, doing just kind of other really toxic things, my catchphrase, my favorite phrase is, okay, I'm out. I don't have a problem, right? Um, then let's talk about the things that have to be accepted. I feel like I've already went through this, but I want to be clear. So reality is as it is. You can't change the past. Facts, you can't change present facts. You can't change any of that. You can't bend reality like in the Matrix. I think I dated myself. However, I'm not a movie watcher, so I don't know of any other movie that bends reality, but just insert that movie here. So you can't change it, right? Um, there are limitations in the future for everyone, but only realistic limitations need to be accepted. So for me, a lot of times anxiety will tell you that something will never be or can't be because you're lazy or this or that. You you don't have to accept those limitations, but you do have to accept the limitation that if you saying you want to be a neuroscience and you suck at math and science, it's probably not a good goal for you. So just realistic limitations or realistic expectations, those are beautiful. Everything has a cause, including events and situations that cause you pain and suffering. Um, if you were around in the first series, I talked a lot about my history, and I am a PTSD. Weird way to say this, but I'll just say survivor. Like, I lived with PTSD symptoms for a long time, just kind of just out of control. But I now understand like what I went through is so that I could help other people. And that might not be the case for others, but that was definitely the case for me. And no, I'm not saying I would want to go back and do every moment the same. I would not. It was horrible. But I am not regretful or resentful or just kind of angry about it anymore because I understand I went through what I went through so that I could help others. Um, PTSD is different for everybody, but if you've been through it and you hear somebody else that's been through it say, "Hey, you can get through it, and this is how it could look for you," possibly it is so much better than someone saying, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I've never felt like that before." Right? So that's kind of my therapy voice. So, life can be worth living even with painful events in it. I absolutely believe in this. Again, annoyingly optimistic. I believe life is worth living. I believe life is can be good and sweet and all those other annoying adjectives you can add to life, and so that you can find pleasure and joy in it. I don't think that it's always sprinkles and rainbows. I think there are going to be some things that distress you. But I also think that if you have your distress management skills in place, that you can very much so bring down that just kind of doom and gloom reality that goes with it. Like, I don't want to live a life where I'm thinking everything will suck. Well, ultimately everything will suck because you've already embraced the idea that, life is going to suck. Why try? Why do anything differently? This might as well be what it is. And I'm not saying that in the sense of if you're clinically depressed, that's going to happen. You're going to feel that way. And if you're clinically depressed and you can't, I don't want to say shake it because, that's really minimizing it. If you find yourself struggling and you can't get through it alone, please get help. Clinical depression can be very scary. It can be very heavy. It can just feel like an anchor around your neck, and you don't want to. Well, at the other end, this analogy is better. I love analogies, guys, so bear with me. The quicksand, it feels like quicksand and you can't get out. And anytime you try to get out, it feels like it's pulling you under more. That's a sign that you need to get help and you need to speak to a professional. Um, Also, like when you're looking for that professional, just understand that not any old professional will do. Because I know there's people who go to therapy and they just kind of absolutely hate the experience. And it's probably because they didn't mesh well with that therapist or that style of therapy. And so I just kind of urge you to keep looking, keep looking. Like I look at therapists like pineapple on pizza. There's some people who love that style, or there's some people that won't. So you just kind of find your pineapple or not your pineapple on pizza, whatever. Oh my God, I'm so corny. My daughter is going to kill me. But okay. So why accept reality? Because rejecting reality doesn't change reality, but what it does ultimately is distress you more. Um, it distress you more because you if you don't want to accept it, that means you fight against it, and when you fight against it, you're going to have physiological and psychological symptoms because of that fight. So why not just kind of accept it? And once you accept it, then you can make choices, right? So um and then the other thing is change in reality requires first accepting reality. So the easiest definition I can think of that is, I used to fight against the idea of just kind of having the wonderful mother that I have. When I was younger, I really wanted a mother that just kind of sang songs and baked cookies and just kind of wore these flowing dresses. That's what TV showed. So I thought, okay, why don't I have that mother? But I had a different kind of mother. And so I was so angry with her for so long for not being that vision of a mother I wanted her to be, that I didn't take time to appreciate who she was in reality. And so once I accepted, okay, this is who this woman is. So you're going to have to figure out your relationship with her. And once I did, it was better for me to just kind of accept the reality of our relationship. And just for some clarity, because I don't want it to seem like, my mother is just kind of this awful person that I resented. My mother was also my abuser. So it's a very complicated relationship, but I feel like it's powerful that I have taken this relationship and changed it into what it is today. And that's not a one size fits all process for everybody. So pain can't be avoided. It's nature's way of signaling that something is wrong. So emotional distress, if you're in pain, that's something is wrong with that. If you're in mental distress, if you're in pain, it's something wrong with that. Your body is signaling to you that we have to do something different. Don't ignore that. Just don't ignore that. Embrace it and do what you need to do to change it, to get some help. So, rejecting reality turns pain into suffering. I mean, that's obvious because that means that's pain is just pain prolonged is suffering. It's just when you wake up, you're miserable, you're heavy, you're crying, you're sick, you're just kind of going through that guilt and shame cycle. Okay, words, shame cycle. So there's a lot going on with you that can just kind of it can just turn your pain into this long-term suffering. And like once you suffer for a while, it feels so oppressive and it feels like, okay, I can't get out of this. And that goes on to like the next piece of it. So refusing to accept reality can keep you stuck in unhappiness, bitterness, anger, sadness, shame, and other painful emotions. And so again, that comes from that prolonged acceptance of, I am just going to be in pain. I am just going to suffer. I am not one of those people who will accept those things. And so I want you to turn into a person that won't accept those things. I won't accept that I'll be in pain because I have the power to change it. And if I can't change it alone, I'm going to find someone to help me change it. Acceptance may lead to sadness, but deep calmness usually follows. And so it comes in phases. So when you accept a thing, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy about it right away. Because, if we go back to the example of my mother, like when I accepted that she was who she was, it didn't make me like my next reaction wasn't that, oh yeah, this is great. No, it was like, God, I'm still stuck with her. So, but again, I had to figure it out. I promise you guys, I love my mom to death today. And so the path out of hell is through misery. That is a great statement to me. Like, it's hopefully it's not inappropriate, but refusing to accept the misery that is part of climbing out of hell, you fall back into hell. And so if you think about depression, anxiety, those low moods, for some it gets really, really dark. And so refusing to accept that I am just in this place where I'm sad and I'm not feeling well will keep you in just kind of this, just kind of art, just kind of alternate reality. I've had some clients in the past that were so deeply depressed and anxious and just felt stuck. The bitterness and anger started, and they started to have really dark thoughts, which made it even worse because it's like now I'm having these harm thoughts about myself and other people, and now I must be a bad person. So it just kind of starts this just really negative track. And the one thing you don't want to do is just you don't want to stay on that track. And so I do want to be clear that radical acceptance is not approval, compassion, love, or passivity or against change. It's just accepting that this is the reality for right now. However, I have the power to change that reality. And if I don't have that power to change my reality on my own, I am going to find someone to help me, right? So, another thing that just kind of can help you with your distress tolerance to manage it is to self soothe with your senses. So, find a pleasurable way to engage each of your five senses. Doing so will help just kind of soothe those negative emotions. And so this was a game changer for me because I'm not one of those people that just I wasn't, rather, let me say that, one of those people who just kind of slow down and smell the flowers. Oh, that really wasn't my thing. It turned into my thing. And so, your vision, go for a walk somewhere nice, pay attention to the sights. If it's not safe for you to walk, then, just kind of sit on your front porch or back porch and watch nature. Um, some people have bird feeders, which I thought was amazing. I never thought that I would get a feeling of calm from watching birds. I thought I would be kind of grossed out and scared, but it was actually a really great experience. So just maybe a bird feeder, maybe, one of and squirrels will come, by the way. Just finding things to just kind of help you slow down and just kind of visually appealing things that will help you relax. Hearing, listening to something enjoyable, such as music or nature. Enjoyable does not mean sad music. I don't know what it is about depressed people and sad music. Try to listen to something joyful. And if the joyful just kind of distresses you, it makes you more annoyed because it's like, what are you happy for? Listen to an upbeat instrumental or sounds of nature, or there's I think it's called brown noise. Like there's the little cop. There's dispatcher. Right. So dispatcher calls on YouTube where you can listen to just dispatchers call cops out for like mundane tasks, like there's a cat in the tree or there's a deer in the road. It's really, I don't know, it's really just kind of interesting. And so, touch, take a warm bath or get a massage. Taste, have a small treat. It doesn't have to be a full meal. Like me, it doesn't have to be a full sleeve of over Oreos. It can be like one or two, or it could be something with textures. Smell, find some flowers or spray a perfume or cologne you like. Just find something to engage your five senses. So, the last distress tolerance skill I want to talk about is distraction. And so it's along with distraction is the acronym accepts. And so it's activities is the A. So engage in activities that require thought and concentration. That could be a hobby, a project, work, or school. So you don't necessarily want to do mindless activity, but something like coloring, Legos, those things will just kind of keep you mentally engaged. And that's what you want to do. Because sometimes doing these activities will just kind of be a good distraction, but you can still come back. So it's not distraction like you're just kind of completely closing it out, ignoring it, and not accepting it. It's just I'm going to mentally engage in this activity so that I can come back to those thoughts and, well, the thoughts later. Contributing, focusing on someone or something other than yourself. You can volunteer to do a good deed or do anything else that can contribute to a cause or person. And so, when you look outside yourself sometimes, especially if you're volunteering at just kind of a shelter or just helping a friend, which can also bring you just some enjoyment that you didn't expect. Comparisons, look at your situation in comparison to something worse. Remember that, excuse me, a time you were in more pain or when someone else was going through something more difficult. I always think about when people are just kind of having issues with their body and they don't like the way they look because maybe they put on a few more pounds. My thing is your body is functioning, it's working. You have full mobility, you're not chronically ill. And so my thing is just kind of appreciate what you have, and not to say that you have to stay where you are, but just appreciate what you have because it could be worse. Emotions, do something that will create a competing emotion. So if you're feeling sad, watch a funny movie. Feeling nervous, listen to something soothing. Again, you guys, in the sad music, stop listening to the sad music, especially after a breakup. Like if you listen to a slew of breakup songs, it's going to feel horrible. And so just listen to an empowerment songs. There's this, I should not be suggesting music right now, but Megan Trainor's an old song. Wanna Be Me or something it's called. I don't know the name of it, but every time I hear it, I dance along with it because I was like, yes, if I were you, I would want to be me too. And so it's a really good, empowering song. And I swear, no matter where I am, if I turn that song on, I'm dancing a little to the complete embarrassment of my daughter. But I enjoy it. I love it. I listen to it all the time and I sing it to the top of my lungs. And so, pushing away. So, do away with negative thoughts by pushing them out of your mind. Imagine writing your problems on a piece of paper, crumbling it up, and throwing it away. Refuse to think about the situation until a better time. A lot of times, therapists will tell you to put the thought on a cloud and just kind of blow it away, or put it in a balloon and let it float away. Thoughts. When your emotions take over, try to focus on your thoughts. Count to 10, recite a poem in your head, or read a book. Something to just kind of, again, this is just bringing you down from that 10. Because, if you don't manage the distress tolerance, you're going to want to go to a maladaptive coping skill. And the thing about the maladaptive coping skills, if you do the positive coping strategies, eventually your distress tolerance will just kind of stay balanced. And then, or you can, if it does go up to a 10, then you can grab onto those positive skills and get it down faster. What maladaptive coping skill does, like cutting, drinking, drugs, is it stalls it right where it is. And little by little, it's called avoidance. Little by little, it's going to grow. And so that thing that started off at maybe a 7 will grow to a 10 or greater because you're ignoring it and you're not addressing it and you're putting this injurious stuff on top of it. So it becomes worse. And we can discuss that more in another video. But so the last one is sensations. So find safe physical sensations to distract you from intense negative emotions. Wear a rubber band and snap it on your wrist. That works really well for cutting. And so does this next one. Hold an ice cube in your hand or eat something sour like a lime. So holding an ice cube and snapping a rubber band on your wrist are good uh, supplement. I can't think of that word. Substitutes. Could not get that word out of my head. So it's good substitutes for cutting. You'll still get that just kind of same twinge of pain, but you won't get that just kind of that guilt and shame cycle afterwards. Um, but I don't recommend doing those in excess because then it'll turn into a maladaptive coping skill and you'll be back in the same situation. And so that is our first video, guys. I'm so excited to be here again and to do my favorite thing, which is obviously talk. And my second favorite thing is to hear myself talk. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad to be back. I'm hoping you guys will stay with me for the next 12 videos. Again, if you have any questions, if something needs to be explained, please reach out to my wonderful colleagues at the Lily Pad, and they will get you in touch with me. I thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and talk to you soon.